Monday around 6 in the morning, the serenity in my cottage breaks like a funeral knell. Linda Robinson HOA is ringing. President Johnson trembles in a worn gray cardigan, pushing a yellow alert like a war proclamation. In 48 hours, she snaps, voice breaking with panic, and searches the urgent notice. No infractions. Linda's crossed the wrong man. A fake signature shouting fraud. A grin creeps up. The legacy of this cabin tells me in the comments what you would do with a fraud like this. I destroy bullies like her. Fights just started. I was having a quiet morning when Linda Robinson showed up with an ultimatum. Until she changed her mind, my inherited cabin served as my haven. I looked at to pay closer attention. Linda seems to be fidgeting like she has somewhere important to be. The document indicates I'm in major transgression of HOA rules and have to sell within 48 hours or risk immediate legal action. But here's the issue with being a software engineer. We study materials carefully and thus document its trash code. No particular breaches indicated, no reference to which rules I allegedly broke, and the signature seems to have come from a different pen than the rest of the text. Linda's observing me read, and I can see her forehead covered in sweat despite the chilly mountain morning. Linda, I said, placing down the note and offering her my best professional smile. This is intriguing. Specifically, I am breaching some regulation. She moves from foot to foot. Mark is quite serious about infractions of the HOA. Gripping her purse, as it seems to contain state secrets. The board voted unanimously. I nodded respectfully. What was the date? Her eyes dart away. Last week during the emergency meeting. I only implement the rules. I do not create them. Her voice indicates she is lying through her teeth. But I remain neutral when Linda leaves, almost hurrying to her beat-up Honda Civic. Follow any decent engineer's advice when confronted with a system fault. Investigate. Sarah says bingo. Linda's freelancing. I phone the HOA office. No violation complaints for your property. Search HOA records and see a consistent trend. Linda presses homeowners with urgent violation warnings, forcing Linda's side business links to sales to sell below market value. What's her angle and why? Target me particularly. My phone buzzes with text from Eric Foster, who owns Linda. Left your house this morning and appeared agitated. Things seem fine at the hardware store down in town. Living in Pine Ridge longer than anyone, Eric is a nice man with a keen sense of local drama. Inquiring whether he has time to talk, Eric's pickup vehicle is rumbling my driveway in 20 minutes. Those men who know everyone's business without spreading rumors about it are a great trade in a little mountain. Community. Linda Robinson. Eric says, shaking his head as we sat on my terrace with coffee, has been difficulty since day one. Did you know she made the Henderson sell last month using the same playbook? Urgent violations, threats of legal action, 48-hour deadline. He shows me a local news item I would have missed on his phone. Henderson family farm sold for 60% of market value in their family for 3 generations. Linda somehow linked them with a buyer who paid cash right away. The pieces start to click. This is about money, not about HOA rules. Eric adds, Linda broke her ex-husband, cut alimony, and foreclosures knocking. Now we're going to where Linda's running a desperate individual with authority and a pattern of pressuring distress sales. Linda's running undercon game with the HOA as her weapon. She made one vital error. Linda's Honda catches me as Eric leaves. She actually reads the fine print and understands how to fight back. Parked at the end of my street, motor running. Amateur hour binoculars see my house. I grab my phone. If Linda wants to play games, I'll document every movement she makes, but first start filming video via my window. Understanding the guidelines of engagement time would help me to call Matt Cooper, a college friend who also happens to be the greatest 3 counties worth of real estate lawyers. I go back far back to our fraternity days, and he owes me a favor from then. Helped him win his first job at a law school. How's mountain life treating? Matt's voice on the phone. Once I describe the circumstances, his tone becomes serious. Send me anything you have pictures of, the notice paperwork of. Your property records, anything Linda handed you. This seems like harassment using HOA power, which is unlawful in Colorado. If she continues to press, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Linda, we might have grounds for a counter lawsuit. Believes she is playing chess, but is unaware that I have already positioned my pieces for checkmate. 24 hours into Linda's 48-hour ultimatum, and I'm in serious research mode. Coffees brewing, laptop humming, and treating. This is exactly what Linda is debugging. Hence, it is the most crucial debugging session I have ever attended. Robinson's Con operation. I review Pinery HOA's records on screen. Linda's name is everywhere, connected with every forced sale her real estate generates, shining with property deeds, screaming fraud. Side project making money off of suffering. My screen flashes show evidence. Every forced sale passes via Linda's Robinson Real Estate Services, her scam enterprise. Then my phone buzzes Linda's messaging. Threats demanding I stop excavating. She is not only abusing HOA power, directly benefiting from the forced sales. My phone calls disrupt Mr. Johnson's research. This is Jennifer from Mile High Bank phoned regarding your mortgage account. I own the cabin but do not have a mortgage. Jennifer says, we show a mortgage application was, yet I clearly think you have the incorrect number. Sent yesterday for your Aspen Trail property. We wanted to confirm the application facts. My blood runs cold. Linda not only harasses me, but also actively attempts to illegally mortgage my house. I asked Jennifer to email me the application information and immediately flagged the account for fraud investigation. The false mortgage application has Linda's fingerprints all over it. Someone created my signature on paperwork, claiming I needed emergency funding to cover legal bills, and HOA finds the desired loan balance $90,000, exactly what Linda requires to rescue her own house from foreclosure. She has balls. Just stole my stuff and is using it as collateral for her own financial rescue. She obviously doesn't know what happens, though. When you tamper with someone who depends on solving difficulties, Eric turns up around. Lunch with sandwiches and more intelligence. I dug some of my own, he says, sinking onto my deck chair at the county assessor's office. A contented look of someone who enjoys a good puzzle. Turns out to be Linda has been really busy recently. She has asked for property records for 12 separate residences in our neighborhood over the last 6 months. Estimate which properties every single one that got violation notifications. Distribute the paperwork on. Here's the rather fascinating section. Eric continues. My table and the extent of Linda's procedure become obvious here. Linda has been attending city planning sessions where they address fresh development initiatives from a manila folder. One resort firm is purchasing land in our area in order to create a luxury mountain hideaway. Wish to guess who has been providing them with information on accessible homes. The parts fit like lines of. Linda isn't only performing random scams. Code is now building properly. Methodically focusing on buildings a developer wants, pressuring occupants to sell cheap, then enabling transactions till Linda launches her first retaliatory action, a recognized development corporation, for Major Mart through 2 p.m. 5 of the letters arrive with new violation notices. Evidently, I am now guilty of the legal paint color. Variance as my cabin's brown stain is 2 tones darker than allowed earth tones, and I am also breaking good parking standards. Protocols as my truck is parked 3 in closer proximity to the street than allowed by rules. So violating the noise level is my favorite. The woman is disturbing the peace with 2 loud typing noises during quiet hours between 7 o'clock p.m. and 7 a.m. Brilliant. I will give her that, yet Linda's desperation shows through her work. Violation notice calls for prompt payment of fines of $1,200 with a 24-hour payment deadline. She is mounting the pressure, expecting I would give in and accept her original offer to assist me sell fast to evade more litigation problems. She is unaware of our proof for every false violation notice she reports. Mac calls Linda's violation notifications. Case I'm building against her. Keep digging that hole. Break 3 Colorado laws. The false mortgage application is felonies. Worst, she hasn't convened one official board meeting 8 months to send warnings of violations. HOA board must vote on them in a formal meeting accompanied by official minutes. She has been running as a one-woman show. Punishing infractions without any legal authority. Nighttime comes Linda's next escalation. My power gets cut immediately in the middle of a video conference with a client the electric company claims to be in an emergency. Exactly at 6 p.m. maintenance. Eric drives by an hour later and notes that every other house on the street has Linda's getting electricity. Desperate means she's hazardous. Individuals make mistakes, but also take more chances. I put up my if Linda wants to play hardball. She is about to learn why laptop on battery power and start capturing everything. You don't tamper with someone who makes a living from methodical thinking. I phoned the emergency number of the utility company and talked to Carlos, a supervisor. We have no planned maintenance for your location. If your power has been off, someone reported a bogus emergency, and we can have a crew out tomorrow morning to look at ideal. Another piece of evidence for Linda's mounting legal problems also report the bogus utility called Constable Morrison takes my statement by calling the non-emergency line of the county sheriff. He tells me that in Colorado, fraudulent emergency reports are a misdemeanor. As I sit in my dark cabin, laptop screen showing my face, I understand Linda's made a vital tactical mistake. She moved from harassment to actual criminal behavior, fraudulent emergency reports, and illegal utility service interference. False began as a civil conflict, has turned into a criminal one. But more importantly, her power play has given me leverage I lacked before. Tomorrow a.m. Linda Robinson has no concept what's about, and I'm going to launch my response. Linda called for Wednesday night's emergency HOA meeting. Standing room only. Word spreads quickly in a small mountain village, particularly in cases of authority abuse. I arrived 30 minutes early with my laptop, is a portable projector borrowed from Eric, and a folder full of proof ready to show Linda. World upside down. The community center buzzes with conflict as neighbors mutter about major HOA infractions. Linda's absence speaks loud. Eric waves to the first row, where he has saved seats. Eric says for both of us and Matt, who drove up from Denver just for tonight's show, "You ready for this?" But from his smile, I can tell he is more thrilled than nervous. Matt reads his notes. One last time, remember, stick to facts, remain cool, and let Linda to excavate her own tomb. Desperate people always overplay their hand as residents register, and I identify faces from surrounding the Hendersons, who sold their farm, the Martinez family, who battled their violation letters, and countless others. Most likely dealing with Linda's harassment eventually shows up at precisely 7:00 p.m., accompanied by two others. I cannot identify a male with the clear look of an expensive suit holding a briefcase, or a woman in one. Someone paid to scare someone. She brought reinforcements, indicating she knows tonight isn't. Linda takes her place at the front desk, changes the microphone, and starts with her ready speech on major transgressions endangering our communal standards. The irony is sufficient to cut with a thank you all for attending this emergency conference. Linda starts her speech with false confidence. We're here to handle continuous infractions by some members that disobey our community guidelines. These violations damage property values and our quality of life. She starts into a thorough account of my supposed breaches that sound like I'm running a meth lab rather than working on a laptop. The performance is really, although Linda has obviously studied this speech, she is about to find that preparation only counts if you are ready for the appropriate fight. I stood hooked in my projector and displayed the data. The room went quiet. Revealed Linda's left-leaning manipulation of the HOA rules would result in original paint color. Control should match the proper natural mountain surroundings. Linda's version, paint has to be approved Alpine Brown number 47, be just fascinating. How exactly does Alpine Brown 47 B turn out to be the hue Linda insisted on? Cabin to fit. Linda's face flushes red as murmurs go across the audience. She stammers, but that's a reasonable explanation of current guidelines. I'm already moving to my next PowerPoint. This one includes a chronology of every violation notice Linda issued. Tenancy cross-comparison with property transactions in our town. 7 violations in 8 months, producing 4 forced sales at below market rates. Observe the trend. Every family who sold rapidly had violations vanish right away with the closure of families who rebelled. Their offenses inexplicably corrected without. Linda's attorney definitely tries to interrupt the woman in the pricey suit, but the audience is not listening. Of it, Tom Martinez, whose family got violation warnings for too many garden gnomes, stands up. Linda told us we had to remove our decorations or face legal action. Nevertheless, the Hendersons had the same gnomes, and Linda never spoke a word to them until they refused to sell. Other tenants began discussing their own experiences with parking violations that weren't infractions, noise concerns regarding youngsters playing throughout daylight hours, and arbitrary regulation modifications that were meant to be aimed at particular families. My final slide is the murder shot. Copy of the bogus mortgage application Linda turned in yesterday, using my forged signature, sought to fraudulently mortgage my house for $90,000 Without my knowledge or permission, the desired sum exactly corresponds to her present mortgage debt under foreclosure. The chamber bursts in enraged voices as residents come to understand the extent of Linda's operation. She is not merely pestering individuals, she is actively pursuing Linda, tries to recover control by pounding her gavel and demanding order. But the community has heard enough. She steals from them. This meeting is adjourned. Linda yells, but Eric gets up from the front row in compliance with HOA rules. When people offer proof of misbehavior, you cannot postpone a meeting unilaterally. Instead, motion for a vote of nay. Confidence, the room bursts and screams a second, and vote now. Linda's attorney shouts frantically in her ear, most likely emphasizing that her power as HOA president does not include controlling evidence of her own crimes. While mayhem explodes around us, Linda makes a frantic, "If you end this, witch hunt right away." She takes the microphone and performs her last card. "Otherwise, I will have no choice but to reduce necessary services to this neighborhood: the road, upkeep, the utility easements, common land, maintenance. All of it relies on HOA cooperation. The threat looms large." About 3 seconds before I unleash my knockout punch Linda on those shared services, I have some fascinating news. Regarding the road maintenance money you have been collecting, I show my final work on the laptop connected to the projector of proof, a map displaying our whole community's property limits. This is a survey map from the county assessor's office. Notice anything unusual about the primary access road. The red line amply illustrates how exactly my land runs the main road into Pine Ridge neighborhood. Linda has been billing each flat $500 a month for road repair costs accumulated over $180,000 over 6 years. The interesting aspect is she has been paying fees to keep a road totally on. Linda owes me 6 years of back rent at current market rates from my private property. So $72,000 due right away. The room gets quiet as neighbors deal with this. About 5 seconds, Linda's face swings between uncertainty and absolute terror. Her lawyer grabs her arm. He starts dragging her toward the exit. "Linda, since you're so focused on community standards, isn't done yet. I am putting new rules on road usage right now. Your monthly access charge is $1,500, quadruple your present rate. Before I allow ongoing access, you must pay all back rent in full." Privileges match. The morning following the HOA conference, I get up to find Linda's Honda ran over from my driveway, motor running with Linda inside animatedly on the phone. Based on the frost patterns on her amateur surveillance at best, she had been there for almost an hour. Pour my coffee, wave enthusiastically from my kitchen window, and see her almost drop her phone in surprise. If Linda wants to, I'm happy to comply. But she obviously outfits me in the strategic department. Time to capitalize. My phone rings before I complete my first, while she is still processing last night's public humiliation. The caller ID reveals numbers I don't know from a cup of coffee, but the voicemails tell a fascinating tale. 2 others want more information about the road maintenance fees Linda's collecting. 3 other homeowners ask regarding joining a possible class action lawsuit against the HOA. Most intriguing, a call from someone identifying himself as a Denver Post reporter covering last night's meeting and eager to talk about HOA mistreatment. Linda's little empire in mountain towns is beginning to fall apart, and the vultures are circling. About 10 a.m., Deputy Morrison jumps out from the county sheriff's car as it pulls into my driveway. I meet Mr. Johnson on my front porch. "Must talk about the fraud complaint you reported yesterday." "While I've been looking at it, we have found some alarming Linda Robinson's activities." Revealed to me a tablet containing bank details that caused my jaw to drop. Mississippi. For the past 18 months, Robinson has been funding her personal account with HOA road maintenance payments. $96,000, felony embezzlement per Colorado law. But the constable has more. We also found that Linda has been submitting fraudulent police complaints regarding multiple residents of your property. Community noise complaints, suspicious activity reports, even an accusation that someone was running an illegal business from their house. All of these reports were registered against persons who subsequently got HOA violation warnings. The Linda's operation has amazing scope. She has been using law enforcement as another weapon in her harassment campaign, wasting taxpayer tools to assist her in running a secret fraud the constable keeps. We wanted to let you know about something else, even though we are drafting arrest warrants for embezzlement and false reporting. Linda has been claiming that you threatened her with physical violence. She is seeking to obtain a restraining order to stop you from visiting community property or attending HOA meetings. I almost laughed out loud. Linda is so desperate that she is now attempting to have the judicial system forbid me from revealing her crime morality. I would be pleased to send those recordings for your review. I trust you will find every encounter I have had with Linda noted. Following the departure of the deputy, I choose to review those property records more closely now. I spent 3 hours reading over surveys and boundary maps after driving to the town county assessor's office. What I find even surpasses my expectations. Not only does the major access road pass through my land, but the community shared parking lot runs totally through. My land is where the mailbox cluster and even the little park area with picnic tables are created. Linda has been billing people to use facilities built wholly on my land. The sums are astounding when I properly calculate them. She has not just been collecting road maintenance fees for my property. 32 families in Pine Ridge pay $500 a month for shared services that are totally on my land. $16,000 a month or $192,000 a year over 6 years. Linda has paid over $1 million in fees for services rendered on my property without ever reimbursed a single dollar. The woman has not only been running a fraud, she has been conducting an unlawful company off of my property. I phoned Matt right away to let him know the discovery mark is beyond everything. I suppose Linda is not only guilty of embezzlement, she is also guilty of running an illegal commercial enterprise on private property in Colorado, which grounds for both criminal charges and civil damages. You could sue for back rent, lost income, and punitive damages. We are talking about possibly millions of dollars. The irony is superb. The best revelation comes from looking further into the property records. Linda handed me legal grounds to solve my financial future instead of trying to force me to sell my house to help with her financial issues. Robinson has not only been running a harassment campaign, but also running an illegal commercial business on stolen land. The property she has been using as collateral for her own mortgage does not really belong to the HOA belongs to. It has been used for the past 37 years as the sun set, and I spotted smoke rising from the community center. Eric's call confirmed my suspicion. Linda had set fire to the office, but I wasn't concerned since the site at the community center is bizarre and the fire engines had already been photographed. Half the community standing around observing the HOA office burn. Sheriff's vehicles. Linda's nowhere to be found, but her absence is more damaging than her presence would have been. Constable Morrison spots me in the gathering and walks up. Ideal timing for a fire. I nod respectfully, especially considering the only thing that burnt was the HOA financial records. As we watch the fire department complete their operations, I hope you will see that I have been photographing and reproducing every pertinent documentation over the previous week. The fire did not destroy any evidence that counts. Eric comes to meet us looking glum. Though I hate to add to tonight's drama, I just got off the phone with my bank-employed cousin. Linda cleaned out the remaining HOA accounts this afternoon, every penny. She withdrew $43,000 in cash and closed the accounts completely. The woman is going full scorched earth, trying to destroy evidence and steal whatever money she can before her inevitable arrest. But Linda's made one crucial mistake. She's escalated from civil fraud to felony grand theft. Tomorrow, when the county prosecutor sees my evidence file, the criminal dream Linda Robinson is experiencing will become really real. Thursday morning brings a parade of official vehicles to Pine Ridge Community Sheriff's cars, fire investigators, and what looks like half the county prosecutor's office descend on our little mountain enclave. Like a bureaucratic invasion force, I watch from my deck with coffee and a sense of satisfaction as investigators photograph the burned HOA office, interview residents, and generally treat the area like the crime scene. It's become Linda's nowhere to be seen, but Eric reports that her house A. John Brooks, Mr. Johnson. Based on our preliminary research, we would want to review the evidence you have gathered about Linda Robinson's activities. Your documentation could be very important for prosecution. I invite you inside and distribute my entire evidence collection over the dining table. Photos. Bank records, property surveys. Notes Linda's harassment campaign's chronology, and captures discussions. After an hour, Brooks looks up with the expression of someone who has just opened a Christmas present, painstakingly, periodically asking clarifying questions or requesting further facts. Johnson, Mr. Linda Robinson is looking at charges for embezzlement, fraud, arson, filing false police reports, and unauthorized use of private property. We're talking about potential prison time of 20 to 30 years. The number hits me like a goods train, among the most comprehensive fraud cases I have seen in 15 years of prosecution. Linda's frantic efforts to salvage her house have wrecked her whole life. Ada Brooks claims Linda's been paid $60,000 by a resort developer to drive multi-state schemes of forced sales. Linda's operation is astounding. She was part of a planned strategy to scam homeowners around midday, not just a desperate woman making terrible decisions. Eric shows up bearing news that is both startling and expected. Linda's been arrested. State police found her at Denver International Airport trying to board a flight to Mexico with $43,000 in cash and a fake passport. She's being held without bail on multiple felony charges. The woman actually tried to flee the country rather than face the consequences of her actions. Part of me feels sorry for her. Desperation can make people do incredibly stupid things, but she chose to victimize innocent families instead of asking for help. The afternoon brings an unexpected visitor. Tom Henderson, whose family farm was one of Linda's early victims, drives up with his wife Martha and a folder full of documents. Mark, we heard about Linda's arrest on the news. We wanted to thank you for exposing what she did to us and other families. Tom says they are setting up a victims group to seek civil litigation against Linda, the resort development company, and anybody else engaged in the scheme. Our attorney thinks we could be able to recover damages and maybe even get our land back if we can establish the sale was dishonest. Martha Henderson hands me a newspaper clipping that causes my blood to heat up. This is a 6-month ago Denver Business Journal story on mountain resort developer simplifies property acquisition methodology. The paper quotes Linda Robinson, a local community leader who aids in the identification of excellent development potential. She has been flaunting her fraud operation to the corporate press, presenting herself as a reputable real estate expert instead of a con artist ruining families. The biggest surprise comes when Ada Brooks phones with an update on the probe. Mr. Johnson, we have found some fascinating information on your property situation. During the 1992 HOA formation, someone forged your grandfather's signature on documents transferring 4 acres to community ownership. We have handwriting analysis that proves the signature is fake, which means that transfer was illegal from the beginning. She pauses to let that sink. And you're not just entitled to back rent for unauthorized use of your property. You're entitled to ownership of every structure built on those 4 acres over the past 31 years. The legal implications are mind-boggling. If I own the land that the community center shared facilities and several houses are built on, then every property owner in Pine Ridge has been living in a legal gray area for 3 decades. But Ada Brooks explains that Colorado law protects good faith property owners who purchase with clean title, so current residents won't lose their homes. Instead, the legal system will likely require the HOA or insurance companies to compensate me for the unauthorized use of my property while protecting current homeowners. Matt calls with a bombshell. Mountain Vistas, a shell business revealed by the FBI. Sitting on my terrace, watching the sunset over Pine Ridge Mountain, my battle's now destroying a multi-state fraud, allowing families like the Hendersons their lives back. Linda's frantic endeavor to pilfer my belongings has led her to discover a criminal plot victimizing families all over several states. Linda Robinson will be remembered not as the woman who tried to steal one cabin, but as the person whose incompetence brought down an entire criminal enterprise. Her avarice and panic have resulted in the disclosure of a much bigger fraud operation tomorrow, when the whole scope of the investigation becomes public. My phone buzzes with a text from Eric. Mark saw on the news that Linda's been charged with 18 felonies, and the FBI is calling it the largest HOA fraud case in Colorado history. Also, the community wants to throw you a party this weekend. You're officially our hero. I text back that I'll bring beer, and we can celebrate justice being served. But honestly, the best part isn't the vindication or the potential financial compensation. It's knowing that Linda Robinson will never again have the power to terrorize families or steal their homes. Sometimes the system actually works, and the bad guys really do get what they deserve. 2 weeks following Linda's imprisonment, I get a certified letter that begs me to wonder whether she has learned anything from her spectacular collapse. Denver County Jail's letter delivered via her appointed attorney offers an offer to amicably settle any issues in exchange for my commitment not to seek civil damages against her the suggested amount. If I agree to dismiss all charges relating to illegal use of my property, Linda will give me $5,000 and publicly apologize. She still believes she can negotiate her way out of paying reasonable recompense. 30 years in prison, Matt laughs. Linda owes you over $1 million, yet her attorney is either ignorant or desperate. We both agree that Linda's proposition calls for a professional answer that leaves no question about the weight we give her proposal. The community has rallied around me in ways that seem both fulfilling and taxing. Though I don't need financial support, Tom and Martha Henderson set up a legal defense fund to help with attorney costs. Eric filed a petition asking the county to look at every HOA in the area in order to stop more fraud. Most emotional is a handwritten note from the 8-year-old daughter of the Martinez family thanking me for making the terrible lady stop mistreating people. Sometimes justice feels abstract, but receiving thanks by a child makes it very tangible. Brooks calls with an update altering Linda's case's whole terrain. Mr. Johnson, Linda's attorney, has contacted us regarding a plea agreement. She is ready to testify against Mountain Vista Development and offer proof regarding the multi-state fraud enterprise in return for lower charges. Linda's legal problems are just starting, but the offer puts her in an intriguing situation. She can assist with law enforcement and perhaps serve 5 to 10 years instead of 20 to 30, but she will have to acknowledge guilt to crimes exposing her to great civil liability from hundreds of victims. According to Otter Brooks, the FBI's probe of Mountain Vista Development reveals proof that Linda's activity was a part of a far more extensive conspiracy. Mountain towns all over Colorado, Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming have been running comparable programs under shell corporations run under the same criminal group. Linda was a low-level agent in a sophisticated real estate fraud network, albeit first believing she was executing a small-time scam to save her house. Eric delivers me a copy of the local newspaper with Linda's mug's picture on the top page under the heading Local HOA President Charged in $1 Million Fraud Scam, and that development makes the most satisfying change. From the counterfeit violation letters to the false mortgage applications to Linda's attempted departure to Mexico, the report covers every element of her misdeeds. My favorite passage is that from one of her former neighbors. Linda turned out to be stealing us blind while posing as a defender of our property values, constantly seeming as though she was doing everyone a favor by enforcing HOA rules. 3 weeks after her detention, I go before Linda in court, her eyes hollow as she pleads guilty, knowing her empire of lies has collapsed. The motion also claims that my evidence was obtained through unauthorized surveillance of Linda's activities. It's a Hail Mary legal strategy that's both pathetic and insulting, but it gives me an opportunity to demonstrate just how thoroughly I've documented everything, Matt, and I respond to Linda's motion with a comprehensive filing that includes 37 pages of evidence, witness statements from 14 community members, bank records showing Linda's embezzlement, and video footage of her attempting to break into my property. We also include a detailed timeline showing that Linda initiated every escalation in our conflict, always in direct response to my legitimate questions about her authority and method. The judge reviews everything and dismisses Linda's motion within 48 hours, calling it frivolous and without merit. I attend Linda's plea hearing as both a victim and a witness, and the last confrontation takes place. There, Linda has lost weight. Her hair is unkempt. She has the defeated posture of someone who has realized that consequences are real when the judge asks if she understands the charges against her. She looks radically different from the confident woman who showed up at my door with fake violation notes. Linda will be making monthly payments for the rest of her life as I leave the courts. Her house, cars, and other possessions will be liquidated to help partially pay what she owes. Martha Henderson gets up to me in the mark for parking lots. She stopped and wiped away tears. Linda robbed us of a year of our life, but she couldn't steal our future. Thank you for fighting when the rest of us were too scared or too battered down to stand up for ourselves while walking to my truck. Judge decided that our sale was fraudulent and void. Sometimes the best revenge is living well. Linda's attempt to ruin my life actually offered me the chance to assist other people restore theirs. 6 months following Linda's release from jail, Pine Ridge has constructed the community center. Eric Foster is the new HOA president, and financial control now takes front stage. Most importantly, every family Linda forced to sell their house has either moved back or gotten full reimbursement for their losses. Life in Pine Ridge feels like what mountain community living should be. The Hendersons are back on the Martinez family's farm, and their garden gnomes proudly exhibited reflect what on a clear October morning. I'm sitting on my terrace observing Tom Henderson labor in the vegetable garden behind his rebuilt farmhouse when my phone calls with a number Mr. Johnson doesn't know. Patricia Williams from Sunset Valley HOA in Utah is here. We are handling a problem akin to what you encountered in Colorado, and we were hoping you might offer some advice. The caller says their HOA president has been pressing locals to sell their houses at less than market rates and sending dubious violation warnings. Over the past 6 months, I have gotten hundreds of calls from HOA members across the West dealing with identical problems. The pattern seems shockingly familiar. My struggle against Linda has evolved into a national campaign against HOA abuse. Matt Cooper has started specializing in HOA fraud cases, and Eric has become a sought-after consultant for communities, trying to implement transparent governance. The financial resolution of my case with Linda exceeded everyone's expectations. The sale of her assets covered about $200,000 of what she owed me, and the court-ordered garnishment of her future income will provide monthly payments for the next 25 years. But the real windfall came from the FBI's investigation into Mountain Vista Development. The criminal organization behind the multi-state fraud scheme had assets seized totaling over $40 million, and victims like me will receive substantial compensation from the federal rest fund. Linda herself has become something of a cautionary tale in legal circles. Her case is now taught in law schools as an example of how small-scale fraud can escalate into federal racketeering charges when it's part of a larger criminal enterprise. She's serving her time at minimum security federal prison in Colorado, and according to news reports, she's been working in the prison library, helping other inmates with legal research. Perhaps she's finally found a constructive way to use her attention to detail. The most unexpected development has been my relationship with the Henderson family. Emma, the granddaughter of Tom and Martha, sees my cabin like her second home. The 8-year-old who wrote me the thank you letter has designated herself as my unofficial tour guide for guests who wish to hear the tale of how we vanquished. Linda Robinson presents events differently than they actually occurred. More dramatic confrontations and heroic speeches than anything else, but she tells it with such passion that I lack the heart to refute her. Patricia Williams in Utah's call this morning marks the 15th request for assistance I have received this month. Each case has unique circumstances, but the trends are shockingly consistent. Desperate or greedy HOA board members abusing their authority to force property sales, usually in cooperation with outside real estate interests. The Linda Robinson playbook apparently wasn't original. It was just one variation on a common theme that's been playing out in communities across America. For years, I spent an hour walking Patricia through the documentation strategies that proved crucial in building my case against Linda. The key is treating it like a research project. I explain, document everything, keep copies of every communication, and never assume that HOA board members are acting within their legitimate authority. Most important, Linda picked on someone with the skills, resources, and stubborn streak required to reveal an entire criminal network, believing she was aiming for an isolated victim too scared to fight back. The irony of Linda's circumstances is not lost on me. She tried to force me to sell my cabin to solve her financial problems, but instead her criminal actions generated enough legal damages to secure my financial future for life. The restitution payments from her case, combined with compensation from the federal seizure of Mountain Vista Development, mean I'll never have to worry about money again. Linda's avarice wrecked her life while unintentionally addressing my retirement schedule. Eric stops about lunchtime with a bottle of beer and a smile, typically indicating he has some intriguing news. Mark, I just spoke with a 60 Minutes reporter on the subject of HOA fraud. They wish to shoot here in Pine Ridge. Evidently, our case has become the poster child for everything wrong with unregulated homeowner associations. Though Eric notes that publicity might help other communities identify and combat comparable fraud schemes, as the sun sets over Pine Ridge Mountain, coloring the sky in tones of orange and purple, that never get old. The concept of national television coverage is both exhilarating and horrifying. I consider the significant changes in my life over 1 year. The real victory is knowing that families like the Hendersons got their homes back and communities like Pine Ridge learned that common people can stand up to bullies and win. Linda Robinson's desperate attempt to steal my house resulted in her imprisonment. Exposure of a multi-state criminal conspiracy, the recovery of millions of stolen assets, and the creation of a support network for HOA fraud victims across the country. She gave me 48 hours to sell her cabin. Instead, I tripled her rent and made her pay in full. Thank you for showing us that sometimes the best revenge is making sure the next family does not have to go through what you did. My phone buzzes with a text from Patricia Williams in Utah. Mark, we followed your advice and found evidence of embezzlement. We are filing criminal charges tomorrow. I smile and type back, congratulations. Sometimes the best revenge is making sure the next family does not have to go through what you used. Linda Robinson showed me that defending your community is the most fulfilling type of success. She felt she could ruin my life to rescue her own. HOA Journal of Neighbors Fighting Hidden Spills. Karma always clocks, and stay around, we have receipts.